when you're ready.
Okay, so we are going to be teaching French through stories.
The story we've chosen is Le Chasseur, which is We're Going on About It.
Teaching a foreign language through stories has many positive aspects. For example, it's very engaging for the children and also it can help improve their memory. However, some people say that teaching a foreign language through stories can mean that it can be easily exploited and it may not give children the well-rounded language learning experience that the teacher intends.
So we've chosen this story in particular as we know it's taught quite often in Key Stage 1. So we found that it's useful to use a story that the children are familiar with so that they already know like, the key characters and the key settings in the story, which is what we're focusing on. And the National Curriculum also supported us doing this and they say that it benefits reading as well. But we've been mindful of which parts of the story we're using so that the children actually have a well-rounded language learning experience. So this story has lots of key settings throughout and therefore we're linking back to the National Curriculum for Literacy because the children need to learn about settings in the story.
Okay. In our lesson plan, which is our lesson 3, we have used one of the main approaches, which is the presentation, practice and production approach, which is the PPP approach. This is a great approach when you want to teach language structures to children. However, some people say that the production stage is not as effective as the presentation or practice stage, and it also helps be supported by the national curriculum and the framework links. We've chosen to use Talk to Your Partner as it's engaging for the children and it's also a chance for them to share and discuss their ideas that they have come up with. However, School Smart says that independent learning needs to be a part of the lesson in some way as it helps children develop the confidence to perform independently. Group work is also used because we found that it helps create greater academic achievement and also it's a way for pupils to show what they have learned independently to their fellow peers.
So when we're teaching our adjectives to you today, we're going to include a gesture for each one and we've done this so it can help you to remember the actual term you're learning. But we've also been mindful of the fact that we need to keep the gestures quite simple so that they actually are beneficial and have a purpose. During our main part of the lesson, we do a bear hunt walk around the classroom and therefore the children are being active, which we think is a better way of teaching compared to traditional inactive methods. We've used in role play as well as we found it's good for when you're using story as a stimulus, which of course we are with this lesson. And we're cross-curricular to art as we use the children's previous artwork in which they've created a picture of the setting in the story and therefore that might help to remind them of the key adjective for that setting. Throughout our lesson we're linking the spoken and written word because we feel this is important and we don't want the children to get to the end of the lesson and then think, oh, I've got to do this now. We want them to realise that's something they need to do throughout the lesson. When we get to the plenary, we're using games and that we're just doing this so the children can familiarise themselves with what they've just learned and it's fun for them so they're likely to be engaged. So now we're just going to move on to our micro-teach. So our learning objective for today is applying the adjectives en français, which simply means we're going to be learning French adjectives.
Our success criteria, which is our critères de success, or I can say clearly one adjective from the story. Some of you, I can say clearly 3 or more adjectives from the story. And a few of you, I can say clearly all 5 adjectives from the story.
So our first setting in the story is the grass scene. The adjective is haute, which means long. Mademoiselle Brooks will now show you the gesture for this adjective.
Haute. Répétez. Haute. Haute. Très bien. Now turn to your partner and say l'adjective haute with the correct gesture. Haute. Fantastic.
The next setting in the story is the cave, and the adjective for this is lugubre, which means gloomy. Mademoiselle Brooks will now show you the gesture for this adjective.
Merci, Mademoiselle Wiltshire. Lugubre. Répétez lugubre.
Lugubre.
Now turn to your partner and say l'adjective lugubre with the correct gesture.
Lugubre.
Fantastic.
Next setting is the forest setting, and this adjective is sombre, which means dark. So Mademoiselle Brooks will now show you the gesture for this adjective.
Merci, Mademoiselle Wiltshire. Sombre. Répétez. Sombre.
Sombre.
Now turn to your partner and say l'adjective sombre with the correct gesture.
Sombre.
Fantastic.
So the final setting in the story is the river setting, and we've decided to include 2 adjectives for this. So the adjectives étroit et profond, which means narrow and deep. Mademoiselle Brooks will now show you the gestures.
Merci, Mademoiselle Wiltshire. We're going to do these separately, class. Ready? Étroit. Répétez.
Étroit.
Bien. Now, profond. Répétez. Profond.
Profond.
Now, when we put them together, étroit et profond. Répétez. Étroit et profond.
Étroit et profond.
Très bien, classe. Fantastique.
Okay, so we've just given you like a brief summary of our mid-term plan and how we would develop this lesson further.
So in order for the children to develop what they've been learning in today's lesson, in lesson 4 they are going to look at the grammatical structures of sentences in French. They're going to learn where an adjective is positioned in a sentence, which is after the noun. This will give them the opportunity to use the adjectives that they have learned in today's lesson and previous lessons in order to create their own descriptive writing sentences. Also, in the national curriculum for Year 3 children, it suggests that using dictionaries can help broaden their vocabulary. That is why the children are encouraged to use dictionaries to find alternative adjectives to use in their descriptive writing sentences. And in Year 3, they are expected to evaluate and criticise their own work to improve their work.
So when we get to the last lesson, which is the 5th lesson in its sequence, the children will apply the skills that they've learned to write their own complex sentences, and we'll be expecting them to peer assess and self-assess their own work and others. They'll then improve the work that they've done using the new grammatical structure and knowledge what they've just received in French to then evaluate their own sentences and example sentences that we'll provide them. And then after that they'll be practicing the sentences that they've created and pronouncing them, and then we can assess how well they're doing. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Any questions?
Thank you.